Hello, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today about some of the strategy games that I've made and just some of the games that I've made in general. Fundamentally, I like strategy games. I enjoy playing them. I'm sort of a crunchy Euro-style strategy gamer. So, of course, a lot of my early work is strategy games. People tend to start making what they love, and that's what I did. So let me show you some of the games that I've made. One of my first games was Anachronism, which was a collectible card game. It was actually more of a living card game sort of before that was a thing that I made along with a team for a company called Tri-King Games working with the History Channel. I was the line developer. I did design for the game. We laid out sets. We came up with card abilities and flavor text and just every aspect of the physical product, as well as being involved in marketing and events, designing tournament structures. I was very happy with the Anachronism in Education program that we did, where we got Anachronism into American high schools. Obviously, you can teach history with it, but also math and just all kinds of language effects. The game itself is played with a very small number of really high-quality cards, sold in a non-randomized format. Again, it was sort of a living card game before living card games were a thing. And that went very well, right? My part of the process was really to help people feel the history, right? When you're working with historical figures, Ramses, Genghis Khan, right? All of the various different warriors and figures throughout history, it's an opportunity to really make those characters come alive, right? Like the real stories are more powerful and more interesting than anything that's going to come up with in fiction. There's all kinds of stuff in real history that would never get past an editor. And so we did a lot to try to make it really feel like the history and let that be something that you could play. I also ran an enormous number of mock tournaments and events during playtesting and supervised playtesting teams around the globe as we designed out the sets. It did quite well, won a number of awards. Inquest and Scry magazine gave it Card Game of the Year. There have been multiple Origins awards. So, and perhaps the greatest compliment that I've gotten for Anachronism is we designed and published, well, we designed 7 sets, we published 6. But the fans at the end were like, okay, we're not done. And they continued to make set after set after set because they weren't done playing it. So that's really quite the compliment. I was very happy with that. And I was happy with all of the little things that we could do. We did a world championship where we flew in people from around the world, and I got to drive a car through a hotel lobby and give away a car. So that was satisfying. Another game that I'm well known for is The Duke, right? The Duke is one of my favorite games. It's one of the games that I've made that I enjoy playing. I'm sort of in the target audience for that game. It evolved from a conversation that a lot of people, game designers always want to tinker with chess. And at some point, I said the words, "There is no such thing as a good chess variant." My philosophy being people who want to play chess, and people who do not want to play chess do not want to play a chess variant. And so having said that, I had to try to make one. And having made one, I made the Duke, and it's done quite well. It's perhaps the game that I'm best known for. It uses a collection of double-sided tiles that are drawn out of a bag, so you have some fixed pieces and some random pieces. So there's certainly more variance than you see in chess, which gives the opportunity for players at a wider spread of skill levels to play the game with each other. It is a 2-player strategy game. Where everything is all about opportunity cost and board position, right? So it's a lot of, since the pieces are different on different sides, every time I move, I flip the tile over, and now my movement options are different. So the play space is sort of a large, interesting puzzle to solve, and it's a 2-player competitive game, so if you solve the puzzle better than I do, you win. It was, like many of the games that I've worked on, this was co-designed. This one was made with my friend Stephen McLaughlin, who is a brilliant designer, and who, if he's on the market, you should hire him. But the opportunities that we got from that were very large. It was picked up by Catalyst Games, who are excellent at marketing. There was a giant 10x10 version, like a 10-foot by 10-foot life-size The Duke that you could play at Gen Con. There were all kinds of tournaments and awards. It won a Mensa Select Award in 2014, which I'm quite proud of. And it went through a number of different variations. It was reskinned and republished as Jarl for the Viking expansion, and developed with some partnerships with television shows. And they put out expansion after expansion after expansion. So that's done quite well. I've also worked, continuing on the collectible card game line, I designed a game called Phase, which was built as a collectible card game, and then a living card game, and then a single box game. It went through a number of different iterations, built for a company, Alderac Entertainment Group, a company that I love working with. Phase uses double-sided cards. So everything is two things, right? It's has a good side and an evil side, and players can kind of mix and match. And again, we've gone through different iterations of how that works. In some cases, right, you have these pre-printed cards that mix and match, and in other cases, there have been versions where you can like combine two cards together in a clear sleeve, and now you can sort of build your own cards. We built out a fairly aggressive tournament structure and sort of story arc for the game, something that would kind of collapse in on itself. Actually, Alderac has always been very good at the tournament scene. They did Legend of the Five Rings and a variety of other games. So I'm very excited to work with them. I designed this at sort of the point when collectible card games were going out of vogue. So this was repackaged and re-put together as a single box card game that came out in one of their Christmas black box packs. But I'm very happy with the two-sided card mechanic. I think there's a lot of potential there, so I plan to maybe make more Phase content, but certainly reuse that mechanic in future games. So if you need two-sided card games, call me up. I've also done some much older stuff that I've worked on on the strategy line, right? Continuing the two-player game, because often that's where some of the strategy games shine. One of my first published games was the first iteration of Suicide Bomber, the card game, which has actually gone through two different print runs with two different companies. That's the second printing. But it's a two-player grid-based puzzle game. Again, we have secret bomb cards that we put on people and run them around this grid and try to knock down buildings and people in the correct order and outthink the opponent. And do a lot of combos. So it's, again, a lot of solving the puzzle and solving the puzzle better than your opponent. Now, this was pre 9/11. Obviously, we were going for shock value, right? Suicide Bomber, the card game, right? It was very deliberately done to try to draw attention. And to be honest, looking back on the decisions that we made there, I think it was the wrong call, right? I think it was a bad idea. There's nothing about the mechanics. There's nothing about the core gameplay and solving the puzzle that necessitates such a frankly offensive theme. And so if I ever have the opportunity to reprint that, I think I'm definitely going to redo that with a new skin, right, with some other image. It did get a lot of attention, and that was effective from a marketing and dollars standpoint, but I don't think we live in that world anymore. So that's a different game. I've also done one of my early works, Time Streams, right? Another game that I made alongside Stephen McLaughlin and Joe Huber and some other wonderful designers. And that is a game about time travel in which you have up to 6 players. This one's actually a strategy game that supports multiplayer. So there's much more in a 2-player game. It still has a sort of heads-up strategy play style. And with 3 or more people, it starts adding some politics and some chip-taking and all of the sorts of things that are true in that space. And for players who enjoy that, it works pretty well. You play time travelers who are inventing time machines at different points in the timeline. So you have the futuristic time machine and the sort of medieval Victorian time machine and Oog make rock, Oog make fire, Oog make time machine. And you play out a collection of invention cards and seed the timeline with your inventions. Some of those have effects when you play them, of course, but many of them don't take effect until the scoring phase. And when we've finished laying out all of the timeline, we essentially start time and just read the cards one at a time, and they do stuff. So now again, it's a lot of let's build the puzzle so that when the timeline flows, it flows in my benefit. And there's a ton of back and forth. With 2 players, it's a really thinky strategic game, and with multiplayer, it's the chaos factor is a lot harder, a lot higher. But I think it came out quite well. I feel like a lot of that game, I really like the gameplay. I really like the strategy. I think some of the UX of the original production didn't go as well as I had hoped. So as of this video, I'm in the process of re-releasing that game, and it may be available in a new form when you watch this. So look for that. But thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about my strategy games, and look for the videos about some of my casual games and other projects that I've worked on. It's good to see you.